We want to be
Hi.
the first to welcome you guys. Oh, hey. Oh, yeah. If you guys aren't familiar or don't really know about our webinars here, but this is Professor Allison, and she helps us do every single webinar every week that we have for nursing students as well as NCLEX takers. And she's an incredible nurse. She's been a nurse for, well over a decade now, teaches and travels around. I know, don't mean to age you there, but look at you. You started when you were 5 years old. No.
Right.
And then
I
this
was in
is,
high school and starting a nurse at the same time.
yeah, exactly. This is Nurse Joe. She's been a Simple Nursing super fan for a number of years, and you've been a nurse for at least what, 2 to 3 years, something like that.
Almost 3 years, yeah.
Mm. And just transferred to a new unit, your dream unit, I think you said, little mother
Yes.
baby. So that's nice.
Yep. So
Yeah,
glad to be here with you guys.
yeah, man. So we're gonna be talking about the new nurse and first paycheck, basically financial tips for new grad nurses. So we are here to support you guys and, answer any questions you guys may have here. But first, let us know where you're from, uh, and also when you guys graduated or took your NCLEX. Oh, Columbus, Ohio. Is it?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
we love hearing where you guys are from. We
yeah.
are all over.
We're from all over too.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So that's cool. Gainesville, Florida. All right. Christine,
Georgia.
Estelle, Atlanta. All right. Very cool. Are you guys done with your NCLEX or are you guys still in nursing school? I think yeah said June 7th. Very nice, guys. So we're here to start the party here, and here's our beautiful little faces if you guys are just tuning in. So today we're going to be talking about how to manage your finances with that first big old juicy, nursing paycheck. Because so many times in nursing school we're broke for so long, and it just do you guys still remember getting like your first nursing paycheck? You're like, whoa. It's like,
100%.
and everyone
Oh yeah.
says, right, like they say the same story, like don't blow it, right? Or it's like and
Or like,
then
what about your school loans?
I know, and then we all drive around fancy cars. It's like, whoa. So it's kind of funny. Okay, Rochester, New York, in a 2-year program, NCLEX in June for Emily. All right. Estelle, man, a lot of you guys are taking your NCLEX pretty soon. So we encourage you guys to join our NCLEX webinars that we do every other week. And yeah, we see you,
On
Dorothy.
Thursdays.
Yeah, on Thursday. Yeah, we're moving it to what, Tuesdays, I think? Or
Come the new
Yeah.
year, that's the hope, yeah. And I'm gonna drop a link right here. These are NCLEX cram sessions that you
hmm
can join us at. It's gonna be 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, or do your addition and subtraction for your times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to show you guys, you can just join our live sessions here, and there's a few playbacks. But yeah, it's great. We show you guys exactly what you need for passing your NCLEX. So yeah, it's gonna be cool. Now, speaking of passing your NCLEX, what do you guys do after your NCLEX? It took us a while to really, build out the entire video library and an entire NCLEX product. And we're like, you know what? No one's really helping students after they pass the NCLEX. Like, who shows you how to navigate, how to find a job, how to set up your resume, how to do interview tips, and then also, what does your preceptor really expect of you? And then what about like all the skills that you were supposed to do during nursing school, which a lot of us didn't do? Um, and we come out like forgetting all of our skills. So that's why we put together a new grad prep course in our new grad membership. So this is just literally the next step that Professor Allison and I wish we would have had during nursing school. And starting our new job. So we have a skills refresher library. We have this new grad mastery course where there's 30 videos that just break down everything that it takes to be a new grad, from handling burnouts to handling those bully nurses that like to eat their own,
Mhm.
to even juggling priority based patients. Like, how do you juggle 4 patients at the same time? And then also, like, we broke it down by department too in these 30 videos. So Professor Allison talks a lot about starting a med surg, what that entails, and really the quick tips and tricks of, how to master it very quickly. So that and a whole lot more, you guys get career guidance, and we also offer CEUs on top of that because now you guys have a license to maintain. So that is what we offer for the new grad membership. It's like our little baby that we just birthed this year, so it's great. And yeah, we're just excited to showcase it for you guys, and we have a big discount for you guys at the very end with a special QR code. So if you're nervous about starting your new grad job, then you guys should join our new grad membership. It's pretty cool. So, what to expect from this session? We're going to get real about the challenges of transitioning from nursing school to the real world. And it kind of feels like, you're on I always say it feels like you're, what's it called? Doing like driver's ed, driver's training. It's not the same as actually driving. And so we're going to show you guys exactly what we wish we would have known before we started. And the big one today, the big focus is new grad finance advice from real life, from our real life experience. And here's a big one. We want you guys to drop in Q&As anytime. If you guys scroll down and see that little dashboard, or maybe it might be up for you guys, just drop any Q&A into the Q&A box. Try to avoid the comment section because it'll probably get lost in the whole thread. But there's not that many of us, so, try your best to drop it in the Q&A. So little housekeeping before we get started here. Please use the chat button for any technical issues. And let me see here. And then again, the Q&A button to ask us questions anytime. Jill will be here to help you guys in the thread as well. And if you're joining for YouTube, then please submit your questions in the comments section of YouTube, because I believe we're live on YouTube. And again, the webinar is going to be recorded, so if you have to pop out at any time, or maybe you arrive late, we're recording it and we're posting it.
I also enabled the closed caption. I know in the past we've had a few requests that. So there you go. We listened to you. Also, take a moment on your chat. Those who are not on the YouTube, actually in here, switch your thing from host and panelist, your little blue drop down, put it to everyone, because we want everyone to be able to interact with one another, and that would be fantastic. And if you don't get chosen, if we don't respond in the Q&A, then just know that we are saving that as a big question for us to answer.
Heyo, that's right. So, Joe and Allison, do you guys remember your first paycheck as a nurse?
I do. I remember that I used it to buy, I think it was like Better's tennis shoes for work because of so it was like kind of practical, but I remember it was like at the time it was in my mind like sort of landmark because it was the first time I didn't buy like my sneakers from TJ Maxx. Like I
Oh,
actually like researched it and looked up like what were good ones for your joints because I remember being so shocked by like how much my body and my feet hurt. And
oh,
so immediately, because also at the time I was like big into running and everything. And so that compounded with working the nursing shifts. I remember I'd even wear like the step counter in on busy shifts working in med surge. It would say that I had walked 4 to 6 miles in my shift. And
dang.
so literally my number one priority. And as I was waiting for that first paycheck, I was on the internet and looking up like what are the best shoes and trying to see what was going to get the most bang for my buck and be really nice on the body. Because one thing is caregivers got to care for themselves. And especially investing in your body is huge for nursing.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. And I feel like, so when I first started out, before I transferred, I was also on an adult acute care / med surge unit. And on average, I mean, if you have like the common thing is like your Apple Watch, right? Mine's charging at the moment because I just did 2 shifts. But like on average, I mean, it could range in from like 9,000 steps to like 19,000 steps. So it's like, are you at Disneyland today? No, I was at work. So, and one thing I found too was like when I would be walking, because I used to bartend and serve, so like my dominant hand, I would actually hold steady and it wouldn't count my steps. So really it'd be like way more. I'm like, oh man, I need to carry stuff on my right side because my shoes are wearing out quick.
Oh man. That how many of us like look at what's it called? Have gotten Danskos or like, those really high-tech shoes. Do you guys get Danskos or no? Have you ever had a pair?
I did dance goes when I was in what actually when I was a server, I did dance goes, but I found like
Ah.
I don't know if it was the break-in for me, it was too
Oh.
firm. Oh, so someone asked what's the best type, what are the best shoes? I think
Mhm.
especially if you have any like impact issues, like joint issues, your feet hurt. I got really bad plantar fasciitis for a while, especially because I worked like float pool at another hospital. So I was always like working extra. And so what I found like that are the best, and we're going by shock absorption. We were not going by looks. Like this looks like I might have stolen my grandfather's shoes, but I do not care. Comfort over anything else. But definitely like the Hokas, Hokas are really
Oh yeah.
good
Mhm.
as
That's
far
what
as
Mike
like
wears.
they're
Mike has his black pair.
They look like
yeah, they're
clown
like
shoes sometimes, but they're so comfortable. Oh my
it's
gosh.
like I don't even care. I will give it. I disregard. What my feet look like is none of my business.
Yeah.
And if I'm working, when you're at work, there's other times to be worried about the aesthetic look of the shoe. And they're light but great shock absorption as far as like impact, and they're known for like longevity because you know how some shoes like you'll wear them and they can get holes in them really quickly, but they're known well for like they hold up. Also on clouds depending on the style, but a lot of those can have really good cushion. And also, even like since you walk so much as a nurse, anything where they have like a little bit of a roll through is going to help your mobility, help you get from point A to point B faster.
That's what
Those
I
are
wear.
probably,
I wear on
yeah.
clouds and I wear so within on clouds there's like different lines and so mine's on cloud and it's on Swift. You can get I like
Mhm.
version 1. I think there's like 3 or 4 versions out now, but on Swift I bought 3 or 4 pairs at REI. No, we're not sponsored, but hey, if you want to. But if you buy the On Cloud on Swift brand, man, I go to Disneyland, I don't feel a thing. I'm there for 4 days. I go to work, I don't feel a thing. I buy 3 or 4 pairs and I switch out a different pair every day, and they last me like a year if I do that. So I don't
Mhm.
feel anything, and they're super light.
I remember at the
Yeah.
time when I was a nurse, I remember the ones that were like, it was before OnCloud did not exist, Hoka did not exist. I mean, again, to date me, or to age me, I guess. We didn't have Apple Watches when I was a nurse. It was you literally hooked a pedometer onto your scrub pant, like a
Oh
little like,
yeah.
looked like a little Tamagotchi kind of thing.
Or your
Uh,
shoelace.
I
Right.
forgot about those.
Or your shoelace, whatnot. But it was like the glycerins by Brooks. So Brooks is another pretty good tried and true brand. And that was a great one. But one tip that I got that I started doing, especially if because most shoes have a longevity based on mileage. And so the more miles you walk, eventually every shoe is going to have some kind of like um you know, you're going to start feeling it. Your body will feel it. It's like listen to your body, but especially changing out insoles. So I even at one point started keeping different insoles in my locker for like start of the shift versus my feet are really hurting. I at one point I had a tennis ball in my locker and I would chart and like roll my foot out if it hurt too bad. Um,
It's really
but so
smart.
yeah, so that was my big splurge.
The big splurge. Yes. So speaking of big splurges, and it's gonna be very tempting, guys, especially being broke for so long to like really want to like throw it all
Mhm.
into something and like, oh my gosh, I need to get like a new Gucci handbag or something like that. Or a Louis Vuitton. Or, really upgrade your lifestyle or take a probably much needed vacation. But the first things first, the biggest financial tip that we can give you guys that really I wish I would have had was to automate your essentials. A lot of money managers and people that talk about, how to manage your finances, talk about how to pay yourself first. And really what that means is that you're paying down, all your bills first, your essential
Mhm.
bills. And then also creating for yourself a reserve account just in case we have a rainy day. So
Mhm.
the first one is automating your essentials. So your first nursing paycheck, it's gonna feel huge, just like we talked about, after so many years of being broke in nursing school. So automate the important stuff and make sure that gets paid first before you impulse spend, and then you start ending up in a massive amount of debt, and then you're kind of forced to like work overtime, or
Mhm.
you're just paying these high interest rates. So
Mhm.
The
Even
first
if you've been like, oh, I was gonna say to kind of go on that, if like you can set up an auto pay because a lot of places have apps for things like rent, utility, and whatnot, or pay it early. Pay your
Yeah.
rent early so that way it's not like because what can happen is you can accidentally like in your mind spend that money and forget and not have that cushion when you need it.
Hmm. And that's when debt creeps in. And when you
Mhm.
it's very easy to overspend initially because it just feels like it'll never run out. Like, oh my gosh, I'm actually rich now. But again, guys, it's like, this is one of the ways to keep yourself steady and stable and on a budget,
Mhm.
and just to really know your baseline. Because when you do start working overtime, how frustrating is it, right, Allison, where you work a bunch of overtime and then they tax the
Mhm.
crap out of you? And it's like, why the heck would you even work overtime?
Right. It's like, wait, how did that? I did all this extra. How does that not have a bigger impact?
Right.
Uh, and so even like the way that you look at extra money, which I know we're going to get into like if you work a night shift differential and things like that, but like how you look at any extra money you make, whether it's night shift differential, overtime, and things like that, because it's so easy to overestimate the effect that that's going to have on your lifestyle. And I remember when I was first starting out and first getting acclimated to actually, during nursing school, I taught fitness classes. And so my paychecks were, you know, you know, double digits, triple digits max, and so the first one, but sometimes what would happen is as I was getting started, I would be saving, being very, very careful because I know payday's coming. And then and it would be like a bunch of things I needed. Like I'd be like going almost on E on gas, like trying to stretch everything out. And then payday would come and I'd have all these things I needed,
Hmm.
and then all of a sudden that paycheck would get spent so quickly. And so trying to figure out how to make it more even throughout, and trying to like stabilize that versus like feast and famine, essentially.
Hmm. That makes sense. So yeah, I mean, to avoid the feast and famine, that's why we're saying set up auto pay first for your essentials, your rent, your utilities, and other reoccurring expenses. Now, I have a lot to say about reoccurring expenses because I signed up for a subscription on Discovery Plus just to get access to Bailing Out Loud, you know?
Oh
And yeah, yeah, good. And I totally forgot about it. And it's been like over almost a year, let's say,
no.
whatever it's been. And I'm like, dude, I totally forgot to cancel this. So watch out for those reoccurring expenses. But again, it's just a friendly reminder. Put on auto pay the essentials. Pay yourself first. Create an
Mhm.
automatic transfer on payday that moves money into accounts. So what I used to like to do is just like move money into your accounts that are essential for your essentials. So for example, like there's be like an automatic transfer into a savings account or an emergency fund. And then from there you can pay like all your essential bills. Um, so remember, you're gonna make fewer money mistakes with automation and accidental missed payments. So that's the big one. All right. Tip number two is to build that new grad emergency fund. Did you guys have an emergency fund when you guys were new grads or yeah, like what?
Well,
I
I almost think it's easier and better to label it something else in your head. I
Okay.
did not have an emergency fund, but like you said, when I first started, I did not have a car. And because at first I went to nursing school in Chicago and then I moved to like little nowhere, Champaign, Illinois. And so my sister and my mom would drive me to work, pick me up from work. And so my emergency fund was all what I was putting aside to get a car.
Hmm.
And of course, in my head, though, it was more fun to think of it as my car fund. Of course, that was there in case of emergencies, but I was much more motivated to set money aside if it was the car fund versus the just in case emergency fund. And I was able to save so much more money because of that. So sometimes even just the way you look at it, like, okay, this is here for emergencies, but also if I get over this certain amount, then I can actually use it towards this other thing that I want. That is maybe not a need, but a want, or like actually a car's kind of a need,
For sure. Definitely a need. How about you, Joe?
Well, I feel like with the whole emergency fund, in mine was different because I was married at the time when I went to nursing school because it was my second career, right? So we were just choosing to live off of one income. So I guess my emergency fund was my husband's funds. So,
Ah,
but
Lucky.
I know, I know.
look at you.
But I would say that, when you first graduate and you're looking like what do I do first? You want to make that splurge, just like Mike and Allison were talking about. Just really try to put your mindset of like, if your goal is to be paying off your loans and to be like debt free within, let's say it's like 5 years, 4 years, 10 years, 2 years, 1 year, depending on how much you took out for your schooling. Because some schooling's like 6 grand, some
Hmm.
schooling's 100 grand, like mine.
Seriously.
So I would just keep perspective of, okay, my mindset is I am living bare minimum until,
Mhm.
your goal. So just change your mindset because half the time you feel like you're working for free. So I tried to I mean, I'm an exception because I'm very proud of it. But in 23 months, I paid off 160 grand in school loans.
What? Damn, Daddy. What the
Yep.
heck? That's
Yep.
crazy.
Right.
So
I
that
don't know
took
what you were doing.
dedication.
How many jobs were you working?
Uh, three. Three.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of that, it's like an emergency fund, right? Or it's like what I've heard nurses
Mhm.
do is like, have you guys ever heard of this where it's like, hey, if I they break it down by shifts where it's like two of my shifts out of the month will go toward a savings account. And
Mhm.
or it's like, the other two will go towards bills or whatever it is. And then
Mhm.
these two is going to put in for my like vacation in the future. Or if I work an overtime shift, that's all going to go into a vacation. So I think that's really interesting.
I think
Um,
it's a kind of a healthy way to look at it too, because you're like,
Mhm.
it's incentive to pick up extra shifts, but is
mhm,
it?
Mhm.
Or, don't call in.
mhm.
So I
Right.
think it's a great way to look at it.
I actually used my night shift differential, like at the time, well, living again in Little Nowhere, Champaign, Illinois. The difference in the night shift pay, so working the same amount of hours a week, just a different time of day, actually covered my rent. And
Wow.
so in my mind, I was like, okay, anytime that I was frustrated with working night shift, I was thinking, okay, but that difference, same hours a week, same number of hours, just different time of the day. And
Mm,
can I suck that up to cover my rent? Absolutely. Where if I worked the same number of hours, just a different time of day, then that rent would that money instead of going towards my car fund would be going towards my rent. And so sometimes that helped with even just, mindset's everything.
mhm.
And it helps with your fatigue if you're picking up extra shifts. It helps, especially if you're looking at it as, oh my God, I'm so exhausted. I've already worked this much. But instead of it's like, okay, I'm doing this because of this, it can
Mm.
help with a lot of like re-energize you and re-motivate you.
Because when
Well,
you're first starting out and you're in like that learning mode, it is
Mhm.
exhausting. Because the moment you're like, oh, I don't know if I can keep up with this. But as time goes and you're like using less brain span of like, this is all new learning or this is different learning. It's gonna be you're gonna have more energy in the long run as long as you keep up with, everything that you're doing at first, that first
mhm.
time doing all of those like bedside things or learning how to chart, all that, or trying not to like not impress someone
Mhm.
who you're orienting with. So it will become less stressful after the
Mhm.
first year. Just know that. And then you're really gonna want to splurge because you're like, I deserve it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Mhm.
But it's true. And that's what we're trying to remind you guys. Like, try not to splurge too early. Set up, what
Mhm.
you need to set up first, and then, think about it in balance. So,
yeah.
for example, let's just say you set aside two shifts out of, let's say you're working 12 shifts out of the month. So set aside two shifts, let's say, for unexpected expenses like a car repair. Your car can always break down. Um, or something in the house can break, or you need something that you didn't even expect. And this can actually decrease a lot of stress. Um,
Even like one time, one shift, I can buy food. One
yeah.
shift, I can
Mhm.
buy food because I can add up. If you're like, I'm rad, I'm gonna be there for 12 hours, 10 hours, 8 hours. I'm gonna buy all my food there. Don't do it.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely
Mhm.
meal prep for sure. And then do you guys want to speak on the other side of the slide here? What to do? Did you guys set a starter goal of like, let's say 1 month of expenses? I know, like, sorry, I'm going to take the show here, but I think Dave Ramsey. Do you guys follow Dave Ramsey?
Yeah, the three
Mhm.
month. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, you should have at least 3 months of reserves. And if you want to quit your job and do something else, they're saying even 6 months of reserves just to
Mhm.
figure it out. But the beauty of nursing, guys, is like you can, like, once you have your reserves built up just to be safe, you can quit your job and you can work per diem, and you can work
Mhm.
staffing, you can cluster all of your things, all your shifts. So that's the beauty of it. But all we're trying to say is, stay smart about it and stay smart about your expenses.
And even with like per diem, so I worked full time at one hospital. So after I was in Champaign, I moved to St. Louis, worked full time at one hospital, and then worked per diem for another hospital. And it's wild. At first, I was worried, like, what if I don't get that many opportunities and whatnot? Essentially, they were like, send us your schedule of what days you're willing to work, and we just show up at our staffing office. We will have an availability for you.
Mm.
So, especially if you're willing to be flexible on what type of unit. And I had only worked in med surge, but luckily wasn't too far out of nursing school. And so it actually was really helpful, like float pool. Float pool can get you extra money if you're willing to be flexible and do whatever the need is. And it also helps you keep your skills up on different areas that you may not have ever experienced, may not have experienced during nursing school or since nursing school.
Totally. And some people even say that, like, I don't know if this is what you found too, Allison, that like when you're on float pool, sometimes like being able to float from different units to units, you kind of feel like you're less under the microscope from one management, you know? So
Mhm.
they actually like
It
being able to see like what culture and what demands.
It actually, if, in my opinion, it kind of helped me from burnout. Because, if you work too much, you can burn out, but it was kind of nice to have like fresh people around you, fresh environment, a little bit of a different thing versus the same old thing again. And again, you could kind of like leave and again, not have someone's eyes on you as much because they're just glad for the help most of
Mm.
the time. They're just happy you're there. And so, and
It's
especially if
true.
if you take the stance of like, by the way, here's the floor I normally work in. This is my first time on this unit, be very humble and ask questions and say, like, I'm not sure, then again, it's like you get to be a little bit new again. You get a little bit have grace again.
Yeah.
Just not to backtrack too much, but Estelle Lee, she's one of our attendees, she was asking, how would you guys describe per diem? So I guess understanding per diem versus being staff, how would, in your mind, because this can go over a couple things, but let's hear how you guys would describe per diem.
So essentially, it's where, because lots of times if you're part-time at a hospital or like PRN, you are required to work a certain amount every paycheck. Like you have to work a certain number of shifts. Per diem is like if essentially I had my full-time hustle, and then this was like I called it my side hustle.
Hmm.
And my side hustle, I would tell them, okay, sometimes I would say in this next month, I like if my schedule with my full-time job didn't have enough allowance for me to work extra, maybe I was traveling on my days off. Maybe I was like clustering my, 3 days in a row so I could get a 4-day stretch and I was going to be traveling during that time, then I couldn't work per diem. And it was totally fine, totally flexible, where there was no minimum requirement of working per pay
Mm.
period per month. Um, and so I would just tell them, and they would tell me what matched up with their needs. And sometimes they wouldn't exactly know their needs. If it's a good, or if it's a hospital that truly needs people, then again, like the one that I worked at, they said, we will likely need you. So we may not be able to tell you beforehand what shift, or what unit you're going to. Someone may call you from the staffing office beforehand to let you know where to go. But otherwise, if you don't get a call and you don't get like canceled for the shift, then just show up at the staffing office and we'll have a need for you.
Mm.
Uh, so per diem and P versus like PRM or part time, usually it's like per diem is extra when you can, but there's no minimum requirement.
And also with staffing, so if you're staff versus like per diem as far as like insurance wise, like you
Mhm.
you may not qualify for benefits, or maybe you will. Or maybe you don't get a pension in retirement. Often, if you work at a university hospital like I do in California, then I get certain holiday pays and holiday hours, vacation. I get practice learning, like professional learning time. There's certain incentives you get as an employee, but per diem gets paid more. They get paid more,
Mhm.
but they don't have the benefits and the extra things that I get. Um,
Mhm.
so it's kind of like, you know, what do you want to do?
It's like every pro, there's a con, everything that looks good, there's a catch. So like I saw one of the questions in the Q&A kind of to go off of that. Someone said, what if they're hiring or what if they're offering a sign-on bonus?
Mm,
The better the sign-on bonus, look
the
at the
risk.
fine print.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at the fine print because the sometimes the sign-on bonus is like they'll pay you out in chunks based on how long you stay. And if there's like oftentimes if they're offering a sign-on bonus, they're super short-staffed. So
Mm,
you may be like it feels like you're getting free money, but they're not giving you money for free. They're working you for it. But if you're okay with that, like I'm a worker. I like to work. I do that does not scare me at all. So sure, throw extra money on me if I know that ahead of time, especially if I know it's going to do things like get me back that buffer, give me an emergency fund that as a new grad, I never had that. I was nervous about every single thing. And so especially if it gives you either helps you pay off loans more, then putting in that extra elbow grease for that sign-on bonus. But especially watch because like I've heard of people who they go because of a sign-on bonus and it ends up being not the place they wanted, not the unit they wanted, and they end up being really unhappy and they weren't aware at first that it's pays over time. And so
hmm
they ended up not wanting to stay for more than 6 months. So they only
mm.
got part of it where they were like, well, had I known that, I would have maybe picked the job I actually wanted to be at long term. So just, definitely read the fine print. Um, but like Joe, like you said, for per diem, lots of times as a business, they can afford to pay you more per hour because they don't have to pay you those benefits.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so that's why oftentimes, for me, per diem worked out well because I had a full-time gig where I got my benefits. And
Yeah.
so the side hustle was my side money for emergency fund.
And if you become like a travel nurse, which is also kind of like per
Mhm.
diem, but a little bit different, there's like a contract. Then you could, well, during COVID time, you can make some buco bucks, with that, especially if you live out of state. Because like New York, I know it's a little side off, but as far as like per diem, travel nursing, money, saving, a lot of people come from different states just with travel nursing just to make money. Because like New York, they make pennies compared to California, and other states do too. So just have to weigh your options and see what is going to be eligible for cross state lines for your nursing. Reciprocity. There you go.
Reciprocity. Well, it's funny because someone asked, you know, it's like, hey, I'm going to be a new grad very soon, or I got my new job. It's like, what can we expect for that first paycheck? And it really just depends, right? It depends
Hmm.
on where you guys live. That's the biggest thing because Northern California, totally different than SoCal, where I started.
Yeah.
So that segues into the tip number three is knowing your real take-home pay. Because after everything's taken out, taxes takes a crap ton, especially with OT. And then you have to pay for the Social Security as well as the Medicare, which I'll probably never use, and all these things. And you know, so your hourly rate on paper doesn't really equal the money that really shows up in your account. Do you guys remember that first time you saw you're like, wait a minute, what? Like, what? Where'd all my money go?
Yeah, like just to be transparent, like my paycheck, my gross was like, I think just starting out, it was I think like $8,000 in 2 weeks, and then it paid me like four, and I'm like half. Oh wait, no, it was like $3,000 I got. So it took like 60%, but most of it went to like my pension and then insurance things. And I was like, man, 60% gone. Here I thought I was gonna be all rich. Hmm.
Yep, that's exactly right. Um, but yeah, that's the biggest shocker, especially when you're a new grad. So really what to do is just review your first few pay stubs to see exactly what's getting, I would say abducted, but deducted. Your money's getting abducted. And then remember to build yourself a budget using net pay, not, your gross pay.
And check your hours too. Make sure that
Yeah.
those hours that you came in for that meeting or that you whatever, because people make
Mhm.
mistakes.
That's very true. And then always, the last point here, track the range of your paycheck if it fluctuates with shift differentials. So really understanding what exactly is coming in is the moral of the story. And that's why tip number 4 is OT. Trust me, guys, taxes, they love to tax you on like literally half of your OT or whatever the heck it is. It
Hmm.
seems like that, right?
Well, did
And
Trump pass something? I keep getting confused. Like, is this going to be a thing where like he's not going to tax overtime for medical
that would be
professionals or
dope if especially for medical professionals, right? Like we're
yeah.
the ones saving people and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
not to talk down on any other career, but I think like
It's
our
so
job's pretty
important.
important, pretty important. So, did you guys start nights? Because nights and weekend and holiday pay can look huge, but taxes do take a big chunk. But even Professor Allison was saying that what did you say? Your night pay covered for your rent or something like that, the differential?
It completely covered my monthly rent. But
Wow.
also, I was lucky. I was living in a very small town in Illinois, and so
Mm-hmm.
my rent was wildly smaller than it is living in a big city. But still, again, there was the shift differential because since I was right out of nursing school and I'd gone to nursing school in Chicago, so you have your nursing school friends and everyone's saying, "Oh, what did you start at? What did you start at?" And I remember hearing what they were starting at days, and it was more than what I was getting night shift. But again, it's because that cost of living. So there can be so many different variables, but you got to look at just because they're getting paid more doesn't mean that that's the value of them as a professional. It's again cost of living. I was actually able to save so much more still because of cost of living in a different city.
Hmm. So smart. So one way to really understand it without overspending, um, because if you're thinking in your mind like, oh my gosh, I'm getting time and a half pay, um, look at your past pay stubs and see what OT and differentials actually hit the bank account with. How much do they actually hit your paycheck with? And then treating OT pay as just that bonus money, not a part of your baseline budget. That's why a lot of nurses I worked with are like, okay, this OT pay is going for, a very particular thing. And it's not the baseline budget of the essentials that they need, unless you know in advance, um, you know, you have a bigger essential expense, if that makes sense. And then use that extra income for savings, debt reduction, or even one-time purchases rather than counting on it. This is the big one right here.
Mhm.
Rather than counting on it for reoccurring bills. That's huge. So watch out for that.
Especially like so because if you have like either overtime because you can't count on always being overtime, or for example like having working a side hustle. Sometimes I could pick up shifts more than other times, and so instead of depending on that, having that as something that's extra bonus for the bonus work, definitely put me in a much better situation than trying to use it because I needed it, because then that would also put me in a panic situation if let's say there weren't extra shifts to pick up, you know, and because then you get reliant on that. So trying to definitely like be able to live on what you make and save anything you can, even like 10, like, $25 a month, $10 a month over a year. It doesn't sound like a lot, but over a year it really compounds. And then it's like, wow, okay, I didn't realize that that could have that effect. It's like $10 a month. That's one less Starbucks. That's making coffee at home, or if your unit has a coffee machine, using that instead of that treat.
Mm.
And so then allowing that bonus money to go towards things that are bonus.
Yeah, the actual outside of your essential stuff.
Mhm.
And speaking of essential stuff, things that can creep up on you, like Allison was saying, like, if you put like those 10 bucks away or whatever it is, like, saving some money, the
Mhm.
biggest eaters of your savings in the long run is high interest debt. So the worst that
Mhm.
you guys can do
Totally.
Mhm.
is not make auto payments for your essential stuff, and then overspend on a credit card. And then now you
Mhm.
have like what, 21% or 22% APR, whatever it is. Uh,
Sometimes up to 23, 26.
oh my gosh. That means you're paying 23 to 26% on that money, which is crazy to me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
remember, credit cards and high interest can definitely grow fast, especially the high interest loans. How much were the loans costing you, Joe? Like, do you know the interest on that?
Yeah, so my part of mine, because I was a teacher before, so I had 60 left. That was ranging from like 1.1 to like 6.8% of 60 grand.
Oh,
And then the
okay.
other 100 grand was I had some as like 7%. And uh I prioritized. You have different strategic plans of like where you want to avalanche or like paying off debt wise, but I chose to do the highest interest rate. I just blew money at that. I just, because it's different when it's debt versus like a credit card, because it's,
Mhm.
Mhm.
or say like a car payment, because
Mhm.
how often are you accruing that interest? Is it annually? Is it monthly? Is it after your statement closes? Is it daily? Because it's all different across the line. So for me personally, with my school loans specifically, I just tackled my private loans because I already had my master's, so I had to do everything private. So I tackled my high interest rates and just it didn't feel like I was making any difference at all until
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
got down to like the last 15 grand. Like who would have thought that? Like, you know what I mean? But, you just got to keep your mindset. You choose your mindset, right? You choose where your money is spent and you can still do a lot of fun things on a budget.
Mhm.
You really can. I think that's the lie we tell ourselves all the time. I think I've traveled so much, and I've worked
He
remote
goes
for a
to
long
such
time.
pretty places. We get the
But
videos.
but that's the beautiful part about this whole thing is that like when you really boil it down to it, it's like, okay, how much does it really cost to get there? And then
Mhm.
as long as you're staying in some nice-ish place, like everything else, like we've been with friends that like, do like the whole party thing, like the bottle service and stuff. And that's the most
Mhm.
expensive things are, not if you take a reflection and look, like the cheaper things in life are like usually the most fulfilling and satisfying. Like just being on the beach or being in nature or just really having a community and just like really connecting. Um,
Mhm.
because they always say like it's what to take from that Willy Wonka quote, right? It's not about the
Mhm.
chocolate, it's about who you share it with.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Oh, you.
it's
No,
so beautiful.
but that's what I mean. It's like you don't have to spend a lot of money to have a really good time. And some of my best moments have actually been when I was like the most broke in nursing school. Because you have to be scrappy and stuff, and you really appreciate, everything that you're given, even out to the little things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, side note, but to wrap up this one here, guys, prioritizing any debt interest, here's the big one, over 8 to 10%, because that'll chew away so much in the future. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it's going to add up and it'll snowball.
Because your
Mhm.
student
Um,
loan debt is daily. It is it's daily how much that interest rate. So whatever balance
Mhm.
is on there, that's a daily. So,
totally.
but with credit cards, if you don't pay off your full statement with your credit card by that closing date, whatever is remaining,
Hmm.
like you need to pay that off. Otherwise, you're going to be taxed on that certain amount. And then with your
Hmm.
cars, that's also going to be annually. So
Mhm.
yeah, check out the stipulations on that. Mike and Allison are telling you all the good stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, even just like picking up a few overtime shifts here and there just to knock that down is a very smart move.
Hmm.
And
Mhm.
so maybe split up your shifts, or it's like these few shifts are going to pay for my essentials. This shift is going to go toward like splurge pay. And then I'm going to work, an extra 1 or 2 shifts for overtime to really knock down my debt in the future time.
Hmm.
So that's a really smart plan. I'm glad we're actually talking about this. Really cool. Hey, but I want you guys to lead the next slide here because they're painting in this workspace that I'm in, and I'm getting like dizzy. So I'm like, ah.
Yeah. Hey, Allison, there is a great if you want to go to the next slide, perfect. We'll do this one, but let's touch base on this. And I could answer this Q&A. It's the first one. And it says, do you recommend new grads must go to med surg units first? My school is telling us we have no choice but go there first for 2 years. Just wondering, is this a standard or a preference, distinguished as a non-negotiable? Oh, we got lots of comments on this one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I love this question. We actually go into this extensively in the new grad course that we filmed last year for that's available for CEUs and everything. But I remember I was told when I was in nursing school, my instructors always said, if you're a new grad, don't expect to work ER, don't expect to get hired in ICU, don't expect to get hired in OR, and also expect to work night shift, and that you should all go med surge. That is it's definitely a dated aged mentality. It is not true anymore. It hasn't been true for quite some time.
Doesn't mean it
There's
doesn't
many,
happen. Most of the time it will
right.
happen like that because they don't want us to hire you into a specialty unit, but it's not the standard.
Not at all.
Mm.
And in fact, especially with like the nursing shortage and everything that we've been in for such a long time, they're hiring new grads everywhere. There's opportunities for shifts at any time span. And I did end up taking a med surg night shift job, but it was the first job that I was offered and the second interview I went on. And so I took it because I was like, and it was I loved the idea of it. It was ortho surge. It was like an med surge floor, and so I loved that.
That sounds
And I
poopy.
ended up really liking it. But I've heard such a variety of things where, people will start out in med surge because they were always told that, or that's the first job they got, and they end up loving it and stay there. Or they start there and they loved the fact that they got a bunch of skills under their belt because it is a good way to like get your foot speed in, learn a lot, and you know, it feels like that learning curve is really like you're learning so much every day and then it finally plateaus out and you get a lot of confidence. And so that actually helped me so that when I did do pretty and float pool, I felt pretty good because some of the other floors felt like a breath of fresh air compared to the chaos compared to the
Yeah.
asylum I was being raised in.
Yeah.
And so it can depend. You do not have to start med surge. And if you do get an opportunity med surge and it's a hospital you want to be at long term and you want to get that experience under your belt and maybe you know that you don't work well at night shift and it's a med surge day shift, try it out. Get that under your belt. And especially if it's a hospital you want to be at long term, then oftentimes it's easier to transfer within the hospital. And but it is definitely not a have to.
Yeah, I mean, there are some perks. Like I always told myself personally, that I would never do med surge. I didn't want to do med surge. It's not going to happen. But then I had a 1 year prestigious new grad program pop up, and it was for an adult acute care, which is like a really
Mhm.
difficult like med surge unit with lots of pumps. Either, and I've had many codes, either going straight from, they're going from me straight to the ICU and things they weren't even admitted for. So I was there for 2.5 years, and then I was able to eventually, being very, very, very pesty, I was able to transfer to a unit of labor and delivery, which I am so happy out. But I will say this, my time management, my critical thinking of
Mhm.
seeing the patient as a whole, medications, certain things that I bring to my new unit, I am able
Mhm.
to like look at things overall as a picture
Mhm.
now and grasp things a lot faster compared to if I joined that unit as a new grad. So,
Mhm.
and also the chaos that I would have nonstop on that other unit and the ability to effectively communicate to other, providers. I would say that my I call it my red flagger is very uh alive on my new unit because the chaos, it's not constant uh as
Mhm.
my other unit was. But when my red flag kind of comes up, I'm like, ooh, and other people may
Spidey
not even,
sense.
yeah, my little spidey sense, I call it my red flagger. So yeah, it looking in hindsight, because I'm now off that unit, which I'm very thankful for, even more thankful now that I made it to my dream job. Uh, I will say that, it is a great way to learn because you struggle.
Mhm.
Struggle is the part that builds character, that's what they say.
Yeah.
That's what they say, at least. The obstacle is the way. So, yeah.
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 That's
And
It's like all the best life comedians. It's like, oh, you're so funny. And they're like, yeah, it's because I have trauma, you
yeah,
know?
exactly.
yeah. So I would say like depending on if your hospital is paying you like a critical care incentive, whether it's and some don't at all, but I would say that plan out your year, choose those vacations or maybe those big purchases that you do want to make. Whether it's like, okay, I'm going to drive that fancy car at year one or year five, or I'm going to go ahead and figure out once I have my budget kind of stabilized, as it says here, like, am I going to be okay to plan that next big vacation at initially, like before I even
Mm.
start? Or maybe like, okay, let's give it a good like 2 holidays and then I'll plan my vacation. Because oftentimes you have to plan your vacation like 6 months ahead of time in order to get that requested off. If
Oh,
you're not the low man on the totem pole. So
Mhm.
be very conscientious on when you want to spend that extra money and when you want to make that big trip. And
mm.
decide if you want to have it at Airbnb or if you want to go with a group of people because things can be a little bit more fun when you're with like your right set of people because you split it by 10, you split it by 5, you split it by
Mhm.
6, by 3. You can make a great time going with a group of friends or family.
It's about who you
Mhm.
share it with, for sure. They always say it's not about what you do or where you go, it's about who you do it with,
Yeah.
that can make
Mhm.
or break the time. So,
Yeah, like when you're at the nursing convention in Seattle and you go karaokeing,
you know,
who you want to be with? You want to be with Mike because he's gonna drop it down. He's gonna be going like this, doing. He's gonna be giving all the
I'm
love.
be throwing, yep, I'm gonna be, yep, just tossing it. Yeah, my scrubs still smell like paint thinner. I'm like, oh man, who paints right in the middle of a anyways.
Love
Okay.
it.
So back on track, guys. We want to get to all your questions and Q&As. But that's a great question that always comes up about, med surge. So we actually do a
Mhm.
lot. We do a huge deep dive into should you start med surg, should you not? It's like we literally dedicate a few videos out of the 30 videos in the new grad prep course, which we'll talk about
Mhm.
more at the end of this, because we have a special discount for you guys for all the things that you'll need to start your job as a new grad. So tip number 6 is to stick to one major upgrade at a time. It might feel tempting to get a new car, to get a new handbag, to go to your dream vacation and just go, whoa. But again, you can get into a lot of debt very quickly and get, even into more debt if you have, student loans. So again, it's easy to upgrade everything at the same time, but the goal is one major upgrade at a time because debt hangover or the flood of debt, trust
Mhm.
me, it doesn't feel good. Um, so pick one major upgrade this year, like a car, a nicer place, or maybe it's just like a big trip, or maybe it's smaller trips sprinkled throughout. Um, and then delay the rest until your budget stabilizes. I think one of the biggest mistakes I see new grads make a lot is you see that first paycheck and you're like, oh my gosh, let me just go spend it all or spend like, 5 times more than this, and do
Mhm.
it all at the same time. So just be careful with that. Um, and always run the numbers before you commit to new monthly payments. Did you guys ever fall into that trap where it's like you can break this payment down and you can afford everything,
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. Especially when I was younger.
And then it ends up costing like, how much more? It's like, oh my gosh.
But I didn't
It's
know
like
about you had to pay it
zero
off in 10
interest
months.
for zero interest for this amount, and then all of a
Yep.
sudden it's huge interest.
Yep. 6 months,
That's
10 months, blah, blah.
some credit card
Mhm.
company got in trouble or something happened. Some someone got in trouble because there was a credit card stand in one of these colleges that had like a big fraternity, but I think it was like a whole thing in like early 2000s or maybe mid 2000s, I don't know. Where it's like they would sell and get people to sign up for a bunch of credit cards in their college years, and then they would just charge it all. It's like, oh wait, I have to pay this back, or wait, it doesn't break down to like this payment.
Mhm.
So
Let's
it's
stand
like,
out there. They're naive. Let's go get
oh
our money
my
there.
gosh. So just be careful, guys. We don't want you to fall into the trap that
Mhm.
a lot of people do. Okay, number 7 is maximize your employer benefits. I think, Joe, we were talking about this maybe,
Mm-hmm.
but hospitals often offer serious perks like retirement. A big one here is educational funds. So
Yep.
if you
Mhm.
stick to a certain hospital, they can sometimes pay off your debts, pay off your student loans, give you that bonus for education, or even pay for a higher ed, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Um, and then, a lot of us we kind of accidentally ignore. So just
Yeah.
knowing that and reading through your benefits program, or even during the interview process, guys, if you're in a market that needs nurses, I always say shop around. This we talk a lot extensively about as one of our tips in the new grad prep course is like
Mhm.
go shop around. Um, if you're in like let's say a rural area or outside a big metropolitan area that needs nurses, guys, like the world's your oyster. Like everyone needs a nurse, especially in those areas. So see which one's giving the best benefits as well as the best pay, the best perks, so you can
Yeah,
see the
because
whole.
there's some hospitals that will pay for like 401k, like they'll match certain
Mhm.
things. Or but one thing you do want to consider, if the place you're going to be working at, is it a pension? Is it 401k? Do they match? Do you want to stay there long term? Because if you
Mhm.
don't want to stay there long term, then a pension option would not be what you want to do. Because once you get vested, which is usually 5 to 6 years to get vested, can you even transfer that? I don't know. But your 401k, you can transfer that to a different 401k. So those are big things you want to consider. Is this a long-term or a short-term destination? Because, you know, it all matters at the end. And there's specialists that you can talk to, because if you don't want to hang out with your parents and then run through it, or like, how do I talk to someone? Because these specialists won't make commission off you. They just
Mhm.
want to provide education for you.
Mhm.
Mhm. Or one thing that Nurse Joe and I love that is more of a fun benefit is if there are places you are going shopping, see if they have a discount for nurses. It is
Yep.
worth it to send them your nursing license and
Yep.
whatnot. Like we're big fans of the Lululemon discount.
Yep.
Uh, shout out to Lululemon for giving nurses a special discount. Use that to your advantage.
Yeah.
Even if it's not for you, for Christmas is coming up, buying gifts for other people, being able to get an extra discount is so, I mean, use all the benefits that you get from all the hard work that you do and all the thankless things that you do. So
Mhm.
accept the thanks in other places. Even one of the hospitals I worked at had a benefit, and this is actually kind of a funny side note. It was a hospital that I worked at in St. Louis, um, which, gosh, that would have been at least 12 years ago. They had a cell phone discount through AT&T. And
Oh,
AT&T was already my service provider, but then I was on my mom and I are still on the same family plan. Shout out mom if you're watching on YouTube,
hi, mom.
which she often is. But we
That's so
just
cute.
found out because we just went to get our phones upgraded. They asked for my they were like, "Oh, are you still working at?" And they said that hospital. And I was like, "No," because we were getting the discount all these years and didn't realize, even though
Oh,
I wasn't working at that hospital anymore, which was kind
Oops.
of
I
entertaining.
mean, yes, I am at the hospital still.
do you
No.
need my ID? So yes, yes, I
I was
am
like, wait,
working there.
like
Wait,
most
hold on.
likely I still have that ID somewhere. Like usually I feel like all my old IDs go into the console of my car. So it's
Uh-huh.
like I could go pull that up for you. Um,
Yeah.
but so even if it's something like a discount on cell phones, discount, like there can be little things, but it all adds up over time. Especially if it's a
Mhm.
cell phone, something you're already using, and AT&T was already our service provider. So it was doing the same thing, but getting a kickback.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's what I say is like spend the most money on the things that you use the most. Like, your
Mhm,
phone, you can use the most.
mhm.
And then, your car or a big one is your bed, I think. That's a really
Mhm.
big upgrade, especially as a new grad nurse for
Yeah.
actually nurse in general, really.
And if you work
Um,
night shifts, blackout lights
oh,
or blackout curtains. Blackout curtains will
definitely.
be the best Amazon money you've ever spent.
Yeah.
Seriously. The lifestyle creep. All right. Tip number 8. So when income goes up, unnecessary spending tends to rise as well. And it's really weird. It's like there was a study that was done. I remember that I was like thinking, well, there was a study that was saying like, does more money equal more happiness? And after a certain income point, it's like more money would not necessarily associate with increased happiness. Um, and I think the same thing is like, unnecessary spending, because so many
Mhm.
times it'll be like, I spent how much on what? And it's like, dude, I
Mhm.
had a way funner time doing something else than doing that, you know? Or what the heck did I even spend on? Have you guys ever felt that way before?
Mhm.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
what the heck?
Yeah. I think where our minds kind of get a little bigger of like our
Mhm.
wallets become a little bigger or
Hmm.
maybe our eyes like you want to eat more than what you can handle and you want to spend more than what you can really afford because you see
Mhm.
everyone around you you're like how do they I have a good paying job how do they afford that it's like they're probably in debt
Yeah,
or
probably
they were
not
into
affording
debt.
Right.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So live within your means and
Mhm.
Hmm.
definitely 100% like the unnecessary spending it especially with Amazon.
Oh yeah. Woo.
Oh man, or
I
like
think, or
supplements.
even there's like the little mental upgrades you give yourself. Like I remember when I started working as a nurse, I went from getting, my makeup at CVS to Sephora.
Mhm.
And then at one point realizing how, like in Sephora, again, it's like this mind trick of the more that you spend, you get more member benefits.
Yeah.
And but I remember at one point at the end, they were like, "Congratulations, you now qualify for this level." And I was like, "Wait." And I saw that meant that I had spent that certain amount. It's like I spent how much on makeup?
Right.
And, and so, and especially like Joe, to your point, especially with like, things that you see on Instagram and stuff like that, you're always seeing people showing new products, trying new products, and then you want to try it yourself. Uh, but again, it's like, I'd rather have spent, especially if it was something that you know, is a want that I need,
Yeah.
and really figuring out
Mhm.
what are the things that are actual needs.
Yeah.
And, or would I rather spend it on that versus this, you know?
And surround yourself with people who are having those, good habits of saving and doing your meal prepping and like Allison and Mike and I
Mhm.
have discussed about like what we would, be eating about, like with higher protein, how we would pack this or pack that and
Mhm.
not eat these things or how there's certain like I think we're talking about like certain coffee drinks or something like that. We're like, oh, you can have this one for lower calories, but it's like cheaper too because I can make this at home. Like just surround
Mhm.
yourself with people who are like-minded or who you want to be like because that
Mhm.
will
Mhm.
be your crowd. Um,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
because if you really want something, like it says here, wait that 24 hours before big purchases. Because if it's still in your mind and you still think it's like important and you are like, okay, yeah, I still want it. And I think it's a good idea. I'm gonna wait 24 hours. Because
Mhm.
don't have that, instant
Mhm.
gratification, need that dopamine drop, ADHD
Mhm.
or, person who's just like, I want it. I need it now. Just wait. Wait the 24 hours. Be smart.
Mhm.
You're a grown up now.
You are good. But it's so funny how a lot of us, you know, we are grown-ups, but we do childish things. I do it all the freaking time. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying like, be a kid at heart. I'm saying like do bonehead things. Like,
Yeah.
overspend or get yourself into like reoccurring things and you don't even look at it anymore.
I
Or
want that
worse
gold
ones.
necklace
Yeah.
from Tiffany's. That's $3,200 when the silver one's only like 600.
Yeah, yeah,
But
it's
I don't
pretty
need
good.
that. I don't need it.
A nice to have versus a need to have for sure.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So that's all we're saying, guys, is like do the principles first. Pay yourself first with your essentials. Start adding to the war chest or your savings, let's say, and then
Mhm.
create an account for splurging. And if you don't have any more money in that splurge account, then work some more overtime to fill that up. The worst
Mhm.
thing you can do is just do some impulse buys, not wait that 24 hours, let's say, and then it's like, oh,
Mhm.
I have to do like how many overtime shifts just to pay for that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Watch out for that. Um, oh, and then here's a really good one that I was almost going to forget. Just match your upgrades with increased savings. So if your rent raises by 150, or let's say your rent raises by, 1,000, then raise your monthly savings by that as well. So just
Mhm.
know that you guys should be balancing it out.
Or add on to
Mhm.
that 3-month rescue, account if it's now gone up because there are a lot of rents that keep going up every year.
Oh my gosh, I know inflation is real and we got to stay ahead of it. But I think the cool thing um, is that nurses are always in demand. And
Mhm.
our profession is probably one of the last ones that'll be replaced by AI if it ever does.
Yeah. And you don't
Right.
have to wait. And you don't have to wait for yourself to make more money. You can pick up
Hmm.
that overtime. You can get that 1.5, that double
Mhm.
time. You can pick up another job that's working that certain specialty or med surge or whatever. You don't have to wait for your annual 5% increase or 2.5 increase or whatever it
Mhm.
is for your years in. You don't have to wait. You have the ability to make more and more and more if you choose to.
Yeah. And just balance. It's okay. So this slide is really interesting because just balancing your fund spending for recovery, but the big thing that we really cover in this new grad prep course, and just to warn you guys, is all about burnout your first year. Because once you guys get
Mhm.
off of rotations, or once you guys are flying on your own without your preceptor, and you're actually the nurse, um, they're gonna really come after you and want you to work overtime. It happens a lot. And
Yeah.
so many times we feel like, oh man, I need to like, make up for everyone else and, be a team player. And you just end up overextending yourself because you don't know how to balance your time. And
Mhm.
I've heard about it a lot. I'm not sure if you guys experience the same thing, but
Yeah,
yeah.
100%. Just remember you're replaceable. Like
Yeah.
Mhm.
they you may feel loved on your unit, but as an employee, your
Hmm.
job is to take care of yourself, your patients, and when you clock out, you need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself because your position is replaceable. So
Mhm.
you may care about your people on your unit. I'm not talking poorly about that. I'm just saying take care of yourself, like Mike and Allison are saying. Because if you need to have that one day of like you called in sick or you just can't pick up that extra shift because they really need you, but you really need to get that sleep or go to that workout or just have a moment to yourself, take care of yourself. Um, and when you do take care of yourself, be realistic about how much you're going to spend. Like it says on this first point, like set a realistic monthly amount for fun. Like, are you going to go weekly and spend coffee at school? I mean, not at school, but at
Mhm.
like on your shift during your hobbies. Are you going to actually go to this like $100 yoga class every week? Don't do it.
Mhm.
Like, be very intentional about where you spend your money, especially when you're burnt out or you're going to be getting burnt out, we tend to like spend a little bit more. Because I
Mhm.
mean, Mike and Allison, don't you see it with like our NCLEXers who just graduated nursing school and they're almost over it and they're like, they don't even want to study at that point. They're just like, but
Mhm.
we're like, it's a full-time job to study right now. Your job is to pass this NCLEX. And they're like, but I don't want to keep up that same momentum. I and then you can kind of see like maybe they're wanting to splurge or maybe they're wanting to like go buy something too and not have to study
Yeah.
or whatever. It's like it is.
Senioritis, it's
Oh
called.
yeah. But
I
don't
think
don't.
it's like the phrase that is like like in the ER, they say, don't say the word quiet,
Yeah.
because if you say, oh, it's a quiet shift or it's
Hmm.
quiet, then everything
Jinxed it.
explodes. Yeah, and then like now it feels like over the past years, and I've been doing like NCLEX prep and mentoring NCLEX students, someone telling me they just want to be done.
Yeah.
They just want to get it over with. That phrase, it's like, I'm gonna go take NCLEX not because I'm sure I'm ready, but because I just want to be done.
Hmm.
It feels like when they say that, or like, I just want to get it over with. I'm like, no, don't, you just said the bad word or the
I
bad
know.
phrase. Um,
You got to
which
do it
I
when
guess
you're ready for sure.
100%. And so I guess to kind of, because was trying to find some bridge to, we had a question from YouTube that I wanted to make sure that we answered. I, in fact, like wrote it down on, um,
Yeah.
literally like a piece of mail because it was in the chat
Is it
for
the one from New
YouTube.
York?
I think so.
Yeah, I got it right here. I have
Yes.
it highlighted. From New York,
Oh,
I'm a
okay.
graduate student nurse. Never took my NCLEX. I was offered a good fresh out of school, good job fresh out of school. I'm still thinking of testing out even after 10 years. What do you think? What do you guys think?
Absolutely. I think it's great because more letters behind your name, like it's not unfair, the meme that nurses love all the letters after their name. And so especially um having that, the longer you go, the harder it's going to be without trying the NCLEX. And I would highly recommend doing the NCLEX prep course on Simple Nursing's platform. Because Mike has done a comprehensive, like, here's what you need to know. And you're not the first student I've ever heard of that's been out for a while and hasn't tested. It's like the days go slow, but somehow the months and years go quick. And it's like, how did that all that time just pass?
Mhm.
But definitely a way to figure out what it is that you need to know is you'll want to do a more comprehensive course for that prep. And I love the one that Mike created on Simple Nursing.
Thank you.
Totally.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, there's all these tips and tricks that we provide for you guys here just to be the best nurses you can be. And that's why we're spending so much time here just to help you guys out. Giving you guys what's it called? The tools that we wish we would have had. Whoa.
Hmm.
And sorry to cut to a few slides later, but I know that the time's coming up. We're gonna do Q&As. We have 2 slides left, but I just want to show you guys this just before everyone like I see a few people bouncing out. Just to remind you guys that we just launched our new career mastery we call New Grad Membership. But it's basically a master class, if you will, or just an entire membership that shows you everything you need to know about how to be a new grad nurse or how to really thrive. So we broke down about 30-ish videos that goes everywhere through clinical experience to workspace skills, to how to balance burnout, to, looking at every single specialty to see which one's right for you, and also interview tips, resume builders. And here's a really cool one. We did 100 quick training videos and cheat sheets and even handy charts to help you guys really onboard. So, for example, I recorded about, I think it was 30 videos that is just skills alone, but we also did the top 75 diagnoses that you will encounter. So you literally just open up the app and just click on it and it'll populate everything you need to know about that diagnosis or about how to do that skill in about 90 seconds. So it's great. And then lastly, career guidance resources if you want to become a nurse practitioner or a CRNA. And then we also give you CEUs for it. So it's fantastic. So it's pretty cool, guys.
How
And
would
we're
you
off.
guys describe though, like before like we like oh yes, this sorry to cut you off, Mike, but as far as like
Oh,
because
it's
this
okay.
is on your screen for the CEs,
Mhm.
I think when I became a nurse, I didn't really understand CEs. They're like, what do you mean I have to maintain my license? What do you mean I have to do
Mhm.
CEs? Like why is this platform, is this just extra or do I have to complete it anyways? Like I think that's one thing. If you guys understand what CEs are or like what that means, because I wonder, in your words, Mike, what would you say like the CEs are? Like why is it important?
Yeah, so CEUs, every 2 years, you guys need to maintain your license. It's kind of like getting your hair done.
Mm-hmm.
The license is needs to be maintained. If you
Yeah,
don't get your CEUs, you won't have a license anymore. And I've seen a lot of nurses lose their license, and then if a number of years go by, I think it's over 2 or 3 years, maybe four, that you don't do CEUs anymore to maintain your license, you literally have to go back to like a prep course or a nursing school
yeah,
and do a refresher, which is crazy to me.
totally.
So that's why, it's good to get as many CEUs as you can just to when the time comes that you have it ready to go and you're not scrambling around trying to get all your CEUs done. Does that make sense?
Totally. And there's some like boring sites to do complete CEUs, but to actually have a site that you're showing like fun stuff and you're actually
Hmm.
like revisiting or learning new skills, this is why it's so cool.
Yeah, and that's why we created the new grad prep course for you guys to have everything that you'll need for, your new grad position. And I mean,
Did
it
you
makes
say
sense,
there's an
right?
app for this? So it's actually on app now?
I believe so. Maybe we can have it answered. I know it was supposed to be on Simple Nursing, but I believe we do have an app, but I can clarify that just in
Or
case.
we can at least there was a question earlier. Um there's no app. Okay, but we can use our like browser on our phone in order to, it is compatible with using, I'm looking at Robin. She's our specialist over here. She's letting us know. But it looks like you can use your phone that's compatible with
Mhm.
like a browser.
Yes, ma'am. So, I believe we dropped the link so you guys can get more info on that, just in case if you're scared about interview questions, resume, and stuff like that. Um, we're gonna answer your guys' Q&As, but let's do the last little one here. Um, it's all about PTO, holiday, and sick pay. If you guys are unfamiliar with PTO, that means paid time off, as well as holiday and sick pay. You guys are going to get not screwed, but you guys are going to get the worst holidays, and you have to, as a new grad. So just expect to work all the big, amazing holidays that everyone wants off. So we're the lowest men on the totem pole. Um, and sick pay policies to give yourself really the maximum value of your time off. I know that there's like a PTO calculator that uh I think it was more for like corporate jobs where it's like everyone gets off certain holidays. Nurses not so much, but there's certain ways that you can kind of game the system to get more time off, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Because there's like
And
with
then,
certain holidays, um, you can, depending on what holiday it is, you can get paid holiday hours. But there's some holidays where you can get 1.5 pay
mm,
or not. So it just depends. And there's a whole schedule depending on like what hospital. But do know that if you're per diem, you do not get the holiday hours as of this year. But next year, I believe that there's some hospitals are offering some holiday hours for per diems.
yeah, and just knowing uh which holidays offer the biggest pay bumps. I know for my family, I think Thanksgiving was way bigger than Christmas Day because Christmas Day is usually for like the little kids and there was, everyone's grown up. So Thanksgiving was bigger. So just knowing that. And then also knowing how many sick hours that you guys accrue. Try not to use them too early. It's really nice when you get to roll it over or convert it. Um, and even combine your PTO with banked holidays, whoops, to create like little mini staycations if you want. So for example, like, 3 on, 4 off, and if you do, let's say 3 on and 3 on, that's like 6 in a row, which is a lot of shifts, but I've done it before. And then you get like literally 8 days off. You get a whole week off. It's crazy. So I've seen a lot of nurses do that. So pretty cool, man. All right, so let's get into some Q&A stuff here, guys.
We do,
What do
if you
we got?
guys want more information about CE credits and how many you'll need each year, Robin was wonderful and we have CE credits they need. It varies by state. You can send, I'm going to send you this link that is going to show you what states need how many each year or for when you renew. So I'll drop that in the chat.
Let's see.
Okay.
Okay, so how long should one wait after passing the LPN to start the RN? Anytime you want. I know a lot of people who work as LPNs and go ahead and start the LPN to RN and so start that education, especially if you're already in the groove of nursing school and studying. Sometimes it's easier just to keep the train going versus once you stop, it's so hard to get back into it. I've been saying that I'm going to go back and get my DNP for so long, but it's so hard to get back in that groove of studying and that time management and having your time not being your own and whatnot. So, no time like the present. Let's see, what other questions do we have?
Yes. What do we got here? Let's see. There was one. Oh, wait, I think you guys already answered that really good one. That was from you too, but maybe not.
Mhm. But
Let's
yes,
see.
yeah.
Let's see here.
Yes, if you have any burning questions right now, definitely put them in the Q&A. If you're on YouTube, put them in the chat. We have our moderators there that make sure that we get those questions. We want to make sure all your guys' questions are answered. And it could be about,
Mhm.
especially since we have 11 minutes left. Usually we're
Yeah.
like zooming in at the finish line, trying to like speed talk, answer questions. So if you have any questions, throw them in the Q&A, throw them in the chat. If you're on YouTube, it could be about nursing school, about NCLEX prep. It could be about working as a nurse. Uh, any and all, we are ready and willing to answer the best of our ability.
Hmm. We are here. Let's see. Did we already answer the CU question?
Yes, I went ahead and referred her to the link that's in the chat, how you can go to elitelearning.com/nursing/requirements for more
Mhm.
information on state requirements for how many CEUs you need to complete. I know from my hospital specifically, I get 40 hours of professional learning time paid for by my hospital so that I can do every year. So I know I get 40 hours. Each hour is a unit or a credit. So times two, you know,
Mhm.
you can do that over 2 years, your 80 units. So, but I know that 40 a year is usually pretty standard, but check out your state regulations and there's a link there.
Oh yeah. But I think like what for me, I guess in California it's what is it, 30 units, 30 contact or 30 units every like 2 years. So but
Hmm.
again, I think it matters your specialty as well. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
yes, ma'am. But yeah, let's see. What else do we got here?
Oh, got another one here that's asking, when do you offer your NCLEX and nursing school webinars? Great question.
Yeah. What is it, basically every week or every other week now?
Yeah.
Not
So
really
every
sure.
other week we'll be doing nursing school, and the other week we'll be doing NCLEX. And we do it Thursdays, so tomorrow at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then next
Mhm.
year we're gonna be you know, probably gonna be switching that to Tuesdays.
Mhm.
I was gonna say 6 p.m. if you're in the East Coast. I know there was someone else here from Columbus, so Eastern Standard or not East Coast, Eastern EST, Eastern Standard Time. Uh, so then that's 6 p.m. But we leapfrog them. So it's 1 week it's in nursing school cram sesh, next week NCLEX prep.
Mhm.
So especially if you're someone that's either waiting to take NCLEX, has a date set, planning on taking a certain time, we specialize there with telling you how to know when you're ready and how to break down those questions, and especially like what to do when you don't know. So test taking strategies, and we go through NG and style questions to help simplify things and help you, pass the NCLEX faster.
Mhm. And I think the beauty of it, just like what Professor Allison said, is like we literally go through every single NGN question that you'll see. And Allison is just a master at breaking down these questions. She actually showed me how to break down the NGNs. Because if you guys didn't know that the NCLEX updates every 2 years, and this last update was huge in terms of case studies. And they added, I think, over what was it, 8 or 10 different new generation
Mhm.
questions. And man,
Mhm.
there was something that we've never seen before. It's like, um, it's very interesting. Like it was way more than drag and drop. Um,
The bow tie, the
that's the one, the boat. I was gonna call it the
like
octopus one.
all the matrices.
Yeah, and it's like, wow, it can be daunting. And not a lot
Mhm.
of um nursing schools as well as NCLEX preps, they don't really show you how to break it down, but we do. So that's what we're here to do
Mhm.
for you guys.
So there's a
So
question from YouTube. When do you start feeling confident in your nursing career? I would say give yourself 3 years to 3 years, but you will 6 months, you won't cry.
yeah.
1 year, you won't have as much anxiety. 2 years, know your flow, but still stay alert. 3 years, I think that's when they start to call you like, once you've completed 3 years of nursing, I feel like that's when you're not a baby nurse anymore. And if you're not feeling like you're not a baby nurse and you just feel like, I got this, I'm a little, watch yourself. Watch yourself. Okay. Always stay learning.
It's so funny you say that because, like, what was it? 1 year when we talked since like in the new grad prep course. At least,
Mhm.
just like Joe said, at least after the first 6 months, you're not going to start crying anymore. But after that first year, you'll probably be like, I don't know, 70-ish, 80% there. You still probably won't have like that gut feeling, a sense of when you know something's wrong, then it's like, oh man, you had like that sixth sense.
Yeah. Like your
Um,
time management will be better at one
there you
year,
go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like you
but your
won't feel like you're
critical
drowning
thinking is
all the
still
time.
not there yet, where
Yeah,
it should
yeah.
be.
I feel like there could be, I feel like there's ebbs and flows. Like everything in life, ebbs and flows always. We always think that like progress in life is linear, where, the longer you're a nurse, the better you feel. But there's always the things that hit you. Like I feel like I'd be feeling so good, so confident. And then all of a sudden I'd have a shift that would rock me,
Yeah.
you know, and I would feel like I don't know anything, or or even it could be that a specific situation could be a physician said something that made me feel small,
Yeah.
spoke to me disrespectfully, and that just knocked me over, or, something I hadn't encountered, or,
Maybe
there could
being
be
complacent.
times
Like maybe your bad habit of like, oh, I can cheat that line. It's not really looked at. Maybe it caught up to you. Like don't, don't be complacent.
like there can just be times where you feel like you know what you're doing, you know what you're doing, you know what you're doing, and then all of a sudden something happens, you're like, what? Wait, how do I feel like I know nothing again?
Yeah.
And so there's again, anything in life ebbs and flows. And so confidence does overall build over time, but there can be things that still shake you. And but still getting just know that like the more that you keep putting one foot in front of the other, you're still moving the needle in the right direction, and you're still going to start feeling stronger and stronger than you did your first day. You
Yeah.
know, as a new grad nurse, you get to be new. And there's something special about that. So don't be afraid to ask questions. But the longer you go in, you'll have seen more, have more exposure, and nothing builds your confidence like overcoming things that are hard, like
Yeah.
your first 6 months,
Yeah.
you know, like getting off of orientation, like even things like that help your confidence. And then you start being able to find new challenges, like, um, you know, paying it forward, training new grads
Mhm.
and trying to help them build their confidence. So such an interesting like lifespan and things that happen, or you decide to go to a new unit, or or like, I think nothing like kind of shakes you for a second. And sometimes it's just, or maybe more irritating might be the better word. Like if let's say you're working 3 or maybe 4 shifts in a row, and you've had pretty much almost this like 80% the same patients all the way through, and you're coming in for that last shift and you're like, all right, pull your report sheets out from your locker, ready to go, tell me the updates. And you walk up to go and see your assignment, and you got floated. And it's a unit that you haven't been to, and you're thinking you're just going to rinse and repeat the same thing you've been doing the past couple days. And all of a sudden, nope, JK, we're going to float you your 4th shift out of 4 in a row.
Yeah.
And so there can be certain things that can dip your confidence and cause frustration. Um, but you're human. You can only do so much. And mindset can be everything.
Yeah. And knowing, I would say across, I completely agree with everything you're saying. And I think knowing 5 questions you always want to ask
Mhm.
to build your confidence. Why is this patient here?
Mhm.
Why are we giving certain meds? What things should I be looking for?
Mhm.
Like what should I be managing and like producing information to the provider? And then um, those top three are going to be your main focus. And then how often do I give their vital signs? That's huge, right? For your compliance. But why is the patient here? Why are they getting certain meds? What should I be monitoring? And what should I be, what parameters do I have in order to, communicate effectively to the provider? If you know those 4 things right there, the rest is time management. And if you're questioning, the other questions will arise. But if you can answer those 5 things, you can give a report, which is key. You can tell provider
Mhm.
what is not normal, which is key.
Mhm.
And then what you're giving to someone. I mean, you've done all those exhausting care plans. You got to know those meds before you go in that patient's room. So don't be complacent. Just if you can answer those 4 questions, you'll be able to have your time managed on the fifth. So
And if you're floating to another unit, if you're either float pool or you're like, surprise, you're not staying here, you're going somewhere else. The big things to know, ask off the top of your head, where's the break room?
where's the
Like
bathroom?
where's the bathroom? Where's the supply closet? And is there a code? And what's the code?
Hmm.
Where's the bedroom? And is there a code? What's the code? Who's the charge nurse? And who's my PCT? Like those are the
Mhm.
big things, because then don't start the shift without knowing those things, because once you've got that down, you can, if you're like, I don't know which doctor's on call for this service because I've never worked spinal cord injury, so I don't know which doctor I'm supposed to be calling right now. Um, those can all be answered by if you know who the charge nurse is. So it's like certain things that are ground level. If you know that, then at least you know the person to go to, the way to get there. Even if the supply room looks way different than yours, everything's in a different spot, you'll figure it out. Like nurses are resourceful, flexible. I mean, we all proved that during COVID with our handkerchiefs around our face when there were no N95s. Um,
Yeah.
but so, oh, and then we got another question. I just realized it was like all of a sudden we had time and now it just zapped away. We had one more question, it looks like.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I can answer that one. Tamika?
oh yeah.
Yeah, so this is a really good question. And we actually touched on this in the new grad prep course where it's like, if you don't have actual healthcare related experience, or in this case, she passed nursing school. She passed her NCLEX in 2024, and her mom got sick. She had a heart attack, went to heart failure, and then was her nurse. And now her mom's doing a lot better now. So, how does she list that on her resume? So, the thing is, guys, is that we sat down with hiring managers at some of the biggest hospitals, and they know you've been a student, they expect you not to have, clinical experience. And they literally have stacks of new grads, resumes that all have the same, almost like zero experience, let's just say. But in Tamika's case, like this is perfect, man. Like you literally have the day in the life. Like you can draw on that information. You can
Mhm.
put on the resume for sure that you were a primary caregiver for a heart failure patient that happened to be your mom. That's great. But you can also really piggyback off that in your interview process and say like, caring for patients uh,
Mhm.
firsthand was like a family member that was closest to my mom, and just knowing that, you know, showing that the hiring manager that you're going to take care of patients just like you took care of your mom, which is great, you know. So just being able to kind of use that to your benefit, and also just really expand upon it, man. Like you basically a nurse, and
And
for
although
folks to hear about.
And kind of to piggyback off of that, you may not be able, obviously, you may not be able to put like, okay, here's the progress I made with this specific patient on your resume, but you wouldn't do that for any resume for any single patient, you know? But that is perfect for answering questions in the interview. As far as
Yep.
like how to put that on the resume, you wouldn't, but you can put like caregiver to a patient with congestive heart failure with this, experience with caregiving a patient with this and this, handling complex medications. But then give it the life and color when you're in front of them in person.
Yeah.
That's where you say, that's where you give the narrative to it.
Like, when was there a time that you felt that and try to circle in to make your point using like, well, when I was caring for, when you're doing
Mhm.
that live interaction, because they're like, oh, she's way better in person than on paper. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, just think of those experiences.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's right. All right, guys, we are 3 minutes over. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And then Maria Gonzalez, we saw you having trouble with your NCLEX. Join us every single, what is it, Thursdays now. We always do
Mhm.
NCLEX cram sessions. So Maria, that one's for you. Go ahead and click on that. And anyone taking their NCLEX, we go over all the key words, especially in Maria's case, English is
Mhm.
a second language, so it's very difficult. But there's very tricky words and very small nuances that we talk about in the NCLEX prep course or in the NCLEX webinars that can really kind of like make you or break you. So we actually have an entire list of those little keywords that we give away for free, like a little study guide. And you guys can get it if you show up to our webinars. All right, guys. That wraps it up here. But thank you guys so much for joining. Thanks, Allison. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
Thanks,
Yeah.
guys.